Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You, which this series sadly won't be featuring Prince Charles as a guest, despite our best endeavours. I'm afraid we are unable to accept your invitation, as I'm sure you will understand His Royal Highness receives many similar requests, and sadly we are unable to accede to them all. Looks like never mind the Buzzcocks has beaten us to it again. In the news this week, on a cliff top in Devon, two peeping Toms spot Anne Widdecombe skinny dipping. At a garden party in Kent, organisers regret allowing John Prescott to help himself to the curried eggs. And in Eastbourne, after taking 9 hours to get to the shops, a pensioner begins to suspect that she may have wrongly assembled her IKEA Zimmer frame. On Ian Hislop's team, please welcome someone who's teetotal and a unique comedian, in as much as he's teetotal, Ross Noble. And with Paul Merton tonight, a Labour MP described by Matthew Parris as a man who could start a fight in an empty room, which may explain the state we found his dressing room in just before he came on, Gerald Kaufman. With round one is how we start, and vice versa. Ian and Ross.
There's Estelle Morris saying, I'm useless, I resign. Blair saying, I'm useless, I don't resign.
John Peel.
Yep.
Yeah, Charles Clarke, wasn't it, who's taken over, because Morris has just gone, right, that's it. I'm
off.
You know, if I don't do it properly, then I'm just going to resign and that's it. And she's been taken over by a bloke who used to be a Toby jug. Yeah.
That's Charles Clarke.
Yeah, that's right.
He's taken her job over rather than taking her over.
Yeah, no, actually taking her over.
That's
He's going to set her up as a small shop.
Isn't this a rare case of somebody resigning for the sake of the programme? Government. Government.
Yeah.
Government. Not programme, government. I meant government, I said programme, but I should have said government. Yeah. Not programme. Forget programme, just
It was
government.
an easy mistake to make.
Really, was it? Yeah. Sounded like it needed quite a lot of organisation where I was sitting. There's a phone calls, there's a knock at the door.
A lot of stamina, too.
Could I talk about Estelle Morris just briefly? Is that okay?
Yes, certainly.
I'd rather hear about the sordid details, though, if you would.
So would I,
just a little bit, go on.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
If I knew what they were, I'd tell you, I promise.
That's as unconvincing as anything I've ever heard. Yes, let's talk about politics. The stream of sleaze can wait.
Yes. The final straw, what did she say it was?
We're back to this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I think the final straw was, you know, she was overcome with honesty. She said she'd made a complete mess of it. It was the A-levels, it was trying to get those people expelled when she didn't have the power to do it, and then there was a promise. She said, if children don't pass these exams in 3 years, I'll resign. And then she forgot she'd said that. Anyway, she's had to go.
And what was Tony Blair's response?
The problem here is that the priority was going to be education. And then it was going to be schools, and then it was going to be hospitals, and then it was going to be education again. And so he's got to put someone in there who will do something rather than just talk.
I hadn't realised this was a serious political programme.
Gerald, you should watch it more often.
It's because I watch it so often that I hadn't realised it.
What about her replacement, Charles Clarke? Is he the best possible replacement for her?
Of course he's the best possible replacement. Whoever would have replaced Estelle would have been the best possible replacement.
Yes, this is the resignation of Education Secretary Estelle Morris. Chris Woodhead, the former head of Ofsted, praised Estelle Morris for her decision and said he was full of admiration for her. He then added, although I was amazed she was appointed in the first place. There's a gullibility about her and a failure to get any intellectual grip. She was in way over her head. She had no real understanding of what she was talking about. And with admiration like that, who needs criticism? Paul and Gerald, you're not on Channel 5.
Eureka Johnson, Matthew Wright, who was, that's him on this show, in fact. And the selection of newspapers there with the cut-out details, the things that were cut out was the name of the man behind this accusation. And Sky Television and ITN have named him, but the BBC have got a policy at the moment of not naming him. So I can't give you the answer you're looking for. It wasn't you, was it?
allowed to refer to him as Mr. X?
Why will the BBC not allow this man's name
I
to
don't
be mentioned when ITV will?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a question for the lawyers. I've no idea.
I suppose it's just a bit old-fashioned, me, but I always thought if you'd been raped, you rang up the police rather than a publisher. I suppose the basic reason he's not being named is because he hasn't been proved guilty yet. There's been a jury of one so far called Ulrika. This is just more of this. It's been a week where you sit there thinking, is there anything else going on in this country apart from a bunch of Z-list celebrities having sex with each other?
Yes.
The answer depressingly seems to be no.
No, yes.
It also seems that Matthew Wright's got some sort of showbiz Tourette's, where he can't hold anything inside. He's just got so much gossip. He's like, oh, that's happened. You know? It's like he spent so long as a gossip column. It's like he hears anything and he just, no, don't tell anyone. He goes, guess what's just happened? And he just blurts it out.
Yes.
All the time.
And Ulrika, in the meantime, is launching her book and also launching a new TV show, which is called...
Mr. Wright.
Ironically, yes. This is the continuing media frenzy following the accidental naming of a man in connection with Ulrika Johnson's claims of assault. In her autobiography, Honest, Ulrika Johnson neither confirms nor denies that she had a relationship with Prince Edward. The last thing I wanted was to be famous by association, said the prince. Many observers have questioned the truth of some of the claims made in Ulrika's autobiography, such as this on page 260. Gladiators that year turned out to be spectacularly enjoyable.
They're particularly enjoyable.
Yes.
If you're losing the skill to read out loud, you really are in trouble.
It makes you go blind.
Does it?
Ian and Ross, your burning issue of the day.
Oh, the fireman, yes, this should be number 3 on any agenda.
That's actually the new dancer at Stringfellows there. There's a roll the hose competition. That's a licorice also factory there.
Bob Crow? That's a train, obviously, I'm not that stupid.
Going at full speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's about to happen then?
They're going on strike, aren't they? The fire brigade, and they're getting in the army.
There was a rather funny bit in Prime Minister's Question Time this week when Ian Duncan Smith said to Tony Blair, he said, now, you know, there's going to be this strike, so we've got to get the soldiers in there. They should be practising with this equipment now. The equipment that we've got in the fire station, they must practise with it now. Give them the equipment to practise with it now. And Tony Blair looked at him and said, well, we can't do that because it's being used by the firemen.
That's the kind of advice they're doing, because there was one guy who was on the news and he was saying, they're going, oh, what should we do if a fire kicks off? And this bloke, you know, he was like that far from going, just buy, like, loads of marshmallows and just stand around.
Oh. And what was John Prescott's advice this week?
Stay in the bath.
Don't let your home catch fire. So what are the knock-on effects? We saw...
The tube drivers
yeah.
have said that
yeah, it's for reasons of safety. But Bob Crow, in a rather charming way, said, I'm very worried about the safety of my members, not the safety of the public.
And what's the emergency committee that's been set up?
Is it them fellas from Trumpton?
Yeah. Q, Barney with the room, Cuthbert, Dibble and Grub. Grub's not been feeling well lately. He's sent his brother.
Right.
You're completely out of date. They resigned. Fireman Sam's taken over.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, but the thing is...
New broom is much better.
There's only one of him, you know, and there's lots of Hugh Pugh and all that.
Oh, no, there's Fireman Sam's mates. There's Elvis and all those others.
Elvis?
Yeah. There's one that looks like Elvis, or perhaps I've been dreaming.
So, Gerald, you were surprised that there was a serious discussion programme, you were saying?
Yes, and I'm still surprised.
Yes.
To be fair, I think that this is as intellectual a television programme as you will find.
How dare you? You've come along as a guest and you badmouth us like that?
I thought the whole point about being a guest here was either to badmouth or be badmouthed. And calling this programme an intellectual programme was as low as I could sink.
Yes. We're following Fame Academy, come on.
Apparently the winner of that's going to host this show. Do you know that? Do you know about that? Happening, apparently.
But that doesn't finish for months.
Oh, no, it must be wrong then.
Yeah.
This is the imminent fireman strike, with the government rejecting their 40% claim. The Times looked back to the previous winter of discontent in 1979, a time when newspapers failed to appear and no one knew what was going on. Suits me.
Well, you'd rather people didn't know what you were up to?
That was the sort of joke, Ian, to be honest.
It's not terribly funny, though, is it?
Many commentators have spotted the parallels with 1979. Back then, there was a winter of discontent looming, just like now. Back then, a complacent Labour government was losing its grip, just like now. And back then, a resurgent Tory party with a dynamic new leader was poised to seize power. Paul and Gerald, finally in this round.
That's a camera wobble to simulate an earthquake. This is Manchester. That's some of the damage. Bricks and toilet rolls have fallen off supermarket shelves. It's a standard bricks and toilet roll earthquake. And that's one of those things that says there's been a quake and there's a bloke saying these bloody quakes. I've picked that up and I'm going to put it down there. 15 quakes in Manchester there's been.
Quake City.
Quake City.
The first joke ever has come out of Manchester Town Hall. This is a city on the move, they say.
The largest one was in Dudley, that was last month, which was 5.1, which apparently was 45 times worse.
Except you wouldn't notice in Dudley.
So what was some of the damage done in this horrific?
Bricks, toilet rolls.
The toilet rolls especially.
Yeah.
The only way they could clear that up, they sent in loads of little puppies.
Yeah.
They just
And there was a chimney pot that fell off near Clayton.
Who's Clayton?
Is he a friend of Dudley?
Thank you. There were also 400 dogs that started barking.
The Andrex puppies?
That'll be them. This is the continuing devastation of British cities by 24 terrifying earthquakes. The quakes led to various scientific explanations being sought. One expert told The Sun, earthquakes can happen anywhere and tend to be random. As far as what causes them, we don't know. Thank God for experts. On the plus side, though, there is some good news, as a Manchester Earthquake Appeal Fund has already been set up in Turkey. So, at the end of that round, the score is like Estelle Morris's appointments diary. There's nothing in it, being as it is for all. So to the linguistic prowess of sub-editors everywhere as we seek to explain away such cryptic illusions as the Brit Parade. Ian and Ross.
Is that the thing? Is it? The Brit Awards have decided that they're not going to have a big celebrity do.
I think you're probably right. I stupidly thought it was the Great Britain series.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Launched on Sunday.
And it's, John Lennon competing against Princess Diana, and I reckon they'll not be able to decide, and they'll just go, give it to Sue Pollard.
It's a very, very upmarket list.
Wouldn't it be great if it was just the whole cast of Hi-de-Hi? Wouldn't it?
Ted Bovis.
Yeah, Ted Bovis. Quick, Spy, get the funny Lord Nelson, come on.
Who would be your favourite Briton, Ian?
Well, I was amazed in the list there were no artists at all. None.
Right.
Hogarth didn't make it, Turner, Constable. Michael Crawford, obviously, Boy George, very important. Robbie Williams.
Well, Robbie Williams did win Musician of the Millennium on Channel 4, didn't he? And Mozart was third.
Right.
Not many politicians in the top 100. Do you know how many there are?
There'll be
were they?
Churchill, Thatcher...
Current
No,
Boy George.
Churchill doesn't count as a politician. Churchill transcends politics. Thatcher is there.
Lloyd
Blair
George?
is there.
Is he?
He is, yeah.
Enoch Powell was there. And
I'm sure Lloyd George was in.
Tony Benn, who is described as a politician by those who have never met him.
You don't get on very well with Tony Benn, do you?
Oh, I get on very, very, very well with Tony Benn. Ever since he left the House of Commons, I've gone on with Tony Benn. Brilliant.
There was another important survey this week. I don't know, because this was the other half of the question.
Well, it accompanied this one. It was that most people in Britain in a survey knew who the people from Big Brother were, and they had no idea who the Cabinet were. They could name Phil Mitchell from EastEnders, but they didn't know who Saddam Hussein was.
They did know who Tony Blair was. They knew who Tony Blair was more than they knew Big Brother. 83%.
Really? That's fantastic. So he's better known than Jade?
But at this moment, not as well known as the name of the man whose name we can't name in this programme.
Yes.
Whose name is known to everybody who isn't watching this programme.
I'd never heard of him at the beginning of this week.
And yet you'd heard of Jade.
Yes. It's reading the papers. You find out the most interesting things about people.
How did I guess? This is the list of 100 Great Britons as compiled for the BBC. Despite criticism of some of the names excluded from the list, the BBC has denied accusations of dumbing down, pointing out that Kipling was only left out because his cakes weren't actually that good anyway. Only 17% of males could name 5 world leaders, but that is still 4 more than George Bush could manage. Paul and Gerald, your spinnerism. Booze, cruise, bruisers.
These are the customs men who are harassing pensioners by taking away the cigarettes they've bought on the cruises on which they've gone as far as France in order to get cigarettes and liquor. And when they come back, their stuff is taken away from them, and in one case, a pensioner was left marooned while her bus left without her. They may not be able to find explosives in shoes, but they are able to keep pensioners isolated.
It has to be said, it's not easy strip searching pensioners with all those flaps of skin.
And what else have Customs and Excise been cracking down on this week?
I was going to say drugs, but that would have been stupid.
Cooking oil converted into car fuel.
They're doing this in Llanelli, aren't they? Yeah, they get 15 chips to the gallon.
And do you know how they detect eco-diesel?
They smell it going around, you know, if it smells like you're driving a chip shop, they pull you over.
And there is another fuel source, which is chicken droppings, which can be turned into fuel as well.
How do you get the chicken to crap into the bloody thing? Do you squeeze it or something? Aim it at the nozzle? What do you do? Open it up.
Have the Iraqis got a lot of chickens? Do you think we should invade?
This is the Sun newspaper's campaign to stop customs officers targeting day trippers who've been stocking up on cheap tobacco and alcohol. One lorry driver was stopped for having 10 times over the recommended allowance, although they let him through when he pointed out it belonged to the Albanians hanging onto his axle. Which unsavoury customs mean at this particular checkpoint, neither team seems unduly taxed, being as it is 6-all. Round 3 is where things really start to happen. A brace of odd ones, but which and why? Ian and Ross, your people's favourites are Elton John, Harold Wilson, Tariq Aziz and Saddam Hussein.
Is this Cuban cigars? Saddam had Cuban cigars sent in, and so did the other 2 that are smoking, and Elton John just smuggles in cigars in his hair and glasses.
What are those things that seem to be sort of sticking on him?
He's the world's first human kaplunk.
That could be it.
If you pull those out, then a popular hit falls out of his mouth.
I think it might have something to do with his moustaches, because Harold Wilson had a long moustache, didn't he, in the 1950s?
Harold Wilson had a moustache, these people had moustaches.
Elton John is the
had
odd
his
one
tash
out, because he hasn't
grafted onto his
He
head.
hasn't got a moustache.
Elton John's the odd one out, he's never had a moustache.
Is the wrong answer also, it's to do with the revelation of one of your colleagues, George Galloway.
Oh, that Saddam... Oh, he likes some Marmite, is it? Or tomato ketchup?
HP sauce.
HP sauce.
We're getting a
Only
bit
Saddam
highbrow now.
Hussein is on this, is the one who doesn't like HP sauce.
I think they all do.
Ian is completely wrong because Gerald got it absolutely right. They're all fans of HP sauce, except Saddam, who in fact was recently revealed to be a fan of Quality Street chocolates.
Perhaps he just likes dressing up as the bloke on the tin.
According to George Galloway, there's HP sauce every time you sit down with Tariq Aziz.
That's not true. I once sat down with Tariq Aziz and there was not HP sauce.
Yeah.
I had dinner with him in his private bungalow in Baghdad,
Yep.
and it was Heinz tomato ketchup, actually.
Yeah, so there we are.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
well,
he kept the good stuff under the table.
You're a big fan of Saddam, aren't you, Gerald?
Me?
Yes. You said, I prefer to see Saddam Hussein as London Mayor than Ken Livingstone.
That doesn't mean I'm a fan of Saddam Hussein.
OK. Yes, the answer is that they're all fans of HP sauce, except for Saddam Hussein, who was recently revealed to be a fan of Quality Street chocolates. In an interview with the Sunday Telegraph, Tariq Aziz claimed the Iraqi opposition is a joke. The joke being, knock, knock, who's there? No one, you've had us all shot. Paul and Gerald, your prize quartet looks and indeed sounds like this.
OK. The last one is Mike Batt.
Oh, it's Mike Batt's Silence. He got
Yes,
into
John
trouble with
Cage.
it.
Yes.
John Cage, the experimental composer, composed a piece of Silence in the 1950s. It was something like 3 minutes 55, it's called. And Mike Batt has also composed a piece of Silence on his last record. And he sort of got into trouble with that. Pachelbel, the canon there, the next one next to him, what's his name, Pete Waterman, is it? He said that he used that melody as inspiration for a Kylie Minogue song.
Is the fact that Batt is the only one who credited them. Waterman nicked all the tunes and never credited them.
It's not quite right, no.
Mike Batt's the only one who's got into trouble.
Well, it's sort of the other way round. The answer is that all the composers have had their melodies ripped off for pop songs, whereas Mike Batt borrowed extensively, is how we've been asked to phrase it, from the composer John Cage.
So what's happened is he had to give John Cage's lawyers some money.
He did, yes, £100,000. They settled out of court.
100 grand?
Yeah.
Silence is golden.
Bach's Air on a G-string was nicked by Procol Harum. For One Shade of Pale.
Was it really?
Yeah. How come Pachelbel doesn't get a proper picture? He just gets a sort of pen and ink drawing done by a court artist.
Well, there's a picture, he's just very pasty.
Speaking of his extraordinary success in the 80s, Pete Waterman said, "I Should Be So Lucky" exploded, and with it we exploded as well. We should be so lucky. Which rapid decomposition means at the end of this set too, it's Paul and Gerald who are calling the tune, ahead as they are 9-6. And so to the homely charms of our final missing words round, a variety of oblongs masking vital parts, each and every one taken from this week's newspapers, with the exception of those from tonight's guest publication, the toweringly impressive Diarrhea Digest, which blissfully describes itself as an irregular publication. So stand by for The Oven That Thinks What?
There's more to life than cooking.
The oven that thinks it's a Hoover.
It is a domestic appliance, yes.
A George Foreman multi-grill.
Yeah.
Toaster.
Electric kettle.
Cuddly toy.
Just to the left of the...
his and hers matching bathrobes.
To the right of the cooker.
To the right
Fridge.
The fridge, yes,
Freezer.
is the right answer. Next, Rolf's what to hang what?
Desire to hang sick animals. He's just, you know, he's just fed up with the animal hospital. Just to put it, you know.
Painting National Gallery.
Classics, yes.
You missed the Harris bit.
To hang in the National, yes, this is the National Gallery to be precise, or National Gallery Cafe to be more precise, or the National Gallery Cafe toilet, probably, to be brutally honest. Next, I've got what in my gut?
The ground force team.
Toma Salata.
It's not, it's even more surprising.
Tennis racket, says Cat.
No, the answer is a brain. The frankly startling news that our guts have a primitive brain, or as Diarrhea Digest helpfully puts it. Next, nudists with attitude sees what?
Quiz show host. Get them bloody clothes off.
Is it nudists with attitude sees up in the cold weather?
It isn't. It is, in fact, the high ground. Next, I let a robot what?
host my quiz show. And there was a significant improvement.
Is it...
Relentless. Yes.
I let the room...
Says the voice of the people. Or was that the news of the world?
I don't think they say that.
Is he a friend of yours, Angus? Good. That's right, love. It's only another 20 minutes to go.
If you've got a friend, you're both in luck.
That strange feeling of déjà vu.
Believe you me,
the rest of the country.
Operate on my knee. And lastly, and what cure diarrhea? Quiz show host. No.
Cork?
It's coconut macaroons. This is the theory that coconut products can relieve chronic diarrhea. Although, according to Diarrhea Digest, we haven't seen any hard evidence backing this up. Which knee-jerk reaction means at the end of tonight's run, this week's softies are Ian and Ross with 7, while this week's hard nuts are Paul and Gerald with 12. Before we bid them a fond good riddance, the minor irritation of our caption competition...
Prime Minister threatened by tiny comet.
Mystery sniper shoots hole in Estelle Morris.
Thank you.
TV man saying, slept with anyone interesting this week?
The last assault.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Is Mr X just out of shot?
On which elevated note we say thank you to our panellists Ian Hislop and Ross Noble, Paul Merton and Gerald Kaufman, and I leave you with news that after persistently trying to sell household goods door to door, a Bristol man is set upon by angry housewives. Scientists uncover proof that self-hypnosis techniques carry no guarantee of success in life. And in London, a meeting breaks for 5 minutes after the mayor is informed of the death of his favourite newt. Good night.
Certainly buried Angus's career, but if you fancy digging up something dirtier still, have a gander at UK TV drama tomorrow, Waking the Deads at 9. For tonight here on G2 though, we're keeping things on the light side. Jonathan Ross gets hair envy next.